Hey guys, tonight, we're going to venture into a very specific, very strange place, the belly of a whale. It's a journey we'll take not with fear, but with a quiet curiosity, a sense of wonder at what it might be like to be held within one of the largest living creatures on our planet. Imagine the vast, dark blue of the open ocean. The water is cool and heavy, a boundless silence stretching in every direction. Now picture that silence being broken by the colossal shadow of a whale, its mouth a cavernous opening of immense, silent power. There is no struggle here, only a gentle, inexorable pull. You are not fighting. You are simply being taken. It's a surreal moment, a quiet surrender. Of course, a rational part of your mind, the scientist, whispers a sobering truth. You probably won't survive this. But for tonight, we'll let that part of us sleep. We will explore this impossible journey as a profound thought experiment, a lyrical dive into biology, physics, and philosophy. So before you get comfortable, take a moment to like the video and subscribe, but only if you genuinely enjoy what I do here. And as we begin our descent, I'd love to know where you are in the world right now. What time is it for you? With that soft question hanging in the air, let's step into the immense darkness and see what we can learn. The very first sensation is not of a violent clash, but of a quiet, flowing displacement. You are no longer in the open sea. You are in a space of muscular warmth and slick, smooth surfaces. It's an environment that feels less like a prison and more like a soft, living chamber. As a scientist might observe, the process of being swallowed by a large baleen whale like a blue whale is not a sudden crushing event. These whales are filter feeders, their immense mouths designed to take in vast quantities of water and krill, not to bite and tear. The esophagus, the passage from mouth to stomach, is surprisingly narrow in these species, often only wide enough to accommodate small fish, not a human. This fact, a curious detail from the annals of marine biology, reminds us that the reality of this scenario is deeply, almost poetically, unlikely. Yet our journey continues. In our imaginary world, the physics bend a little, the biology stretches to its limits, and the impossible becomes the canvas for our exploration. The physical sensation, therefore, is one of being gently compressed, of a rhythmic squeeze that pulls you deeper. It's like being carried along a slow-moving river of muscle and tissue, a sensation that is both disorienting and oddly calming. This is the whale's esophagus, a muscular tube performing peristalsis, the involuntary wave-like contractions that move food along. This biological process, so common in the animal kingdom, is transformed here into a form of slow, deliberate transport. It's a testament to the elegant machinery of life, the way simple, repetitive actions create complex and vital functions. We are simply a part of this function now, a temporary mote in a vast biological system. The darkness is absolute, a profound velvet absence of light that forces the other senses to awaken. You begin to notice the subtle sounds, the muffled, distant thrum of the whale's body, the soft sloshing of water, the faint, high-pitched creaks of cartilage and bone. This initial descent is a time for quiet reflection. As a philosopher, I would ask you to consider the nature of scale. For us, the human world is the measure of all things. Our cities, our lives, our time, all are built around our size and our perspective. But within the whale, our sense of scale is completely undone. The immense living space around you is so vast, so unfathomable, that your own presence seems to shrink to near nothingness. It's a feeling that can be terrifying, but it can also be profoundly humbling. We are in this moment a speck of dust in a cathedral of flesh. This raises an interesting question. Is the value of a thing determined by its size? Or is it found in the quality of its being, its capacity for thought, its unique existence, no matter how small? The physicist in me would point out that at a fundamental level, the atoms that make up your body are no more or less significant than the atoms that make up the whale's body. They are all simply arrangements of quarks and leptons bound by the fundamental forces of the universe. Yet we imbue certain arrangements, like a human consciousness, with a value that seems to transcend mere physical form. It's a great mystery, the inexplicable weight we give to our own fragile existence. As we continue our slow journey downward, the sounds become more pronounced. You can now hear the deep resonant pulse of the whale's heart. It's a slow, powerful beat, a rhythm that seems to echo through the very water and tissue around you. This is a core scientific concept in action: the circulatory system. The whale's heart, in some of the largest species, is the size of a small car, and its beat can be heard from a distance. The energy required to pump blood through such a massive body is immense. Each pulse is a testament to the raw biological power of life on this scale. It's a rhythmic drum, a slow march of existence that lulls you deeper into the darkness. The ancient Greeks might have seen this as a divine rhythm, a heartbeat of the sea god himself. We, with our modern understanding, know it is simply biology, but the awe remains. The reality is that we don't really know for sure what a whale's deepest emotions are, what its inner world is like. We can measure its heart rate, study its brain size, but the subjective experience of being a whale remains a beautiful, impenetrable secret. As the gentle contractions of the whale's esophagus continue their steady work pulling you deeper into the immense unknown, a new sensation begins to emerge. The darkness, which at first was a simple absence of light, now seems to shimmer with a faint internal glow. It's not a source of illumination in the traditional sense, but more of a phosphorescent glimmer, a biological light that hints at the vibrant life pulsing all around you. This glimmer is the first sign that you are moving from the passive muscular transport of the esophagus into a more active, complex environment. You are about to enter the stomach, a place that a historian might call the inner sanctum, or a poet might name the heart of the beast's engine. But for the scientist, it is simply a unique chemical ecosystem, a place of extraordinary digestive power. It is here that the concept of a cosmic wormhole starts to feel less like a metaphor and more like a physical reality as you leave the familiar behind and enter a world governed by entirely different rules. The whale's stomach is not a single chamber as ours is. In many species, it is a series of interconnected compartments, a complex labyrinth designed to process vast quantities of food. The first of these chambers is often a large muscular sac, a holding area where food is initially received and broken down by strong contractions. As you drift into this space, the rhythmic pulses become more powerful, a slow churning motion that suggests the immense mechanical forces at play. This biomechanical process is a fascinating example of natural engineering. The muscular walls of this chamber work to macerate the krill and fish, a physical breakdown that precedes the chemical assault to come. It's a process that is so far removed from our own simple digestive system that it feels alien, like stepping inside a complex factory built of living tissue. This is a core scientific concept, the efficiency of an optimized system where form and function are in perfect life-sustaining harmony. Within this churning chamber, the water that surrounds you begins to change. It is no longer just cool, salty seawater. It is a rich, biological soup. The faint glow you saw earlier now reveals itself as countless tiny organisms, plankton, krill, and other microscopic life forms that make up the base of the food chain. These creatures are still living, for the most part, a vibrant, squirming cloud of life that adds a surreal texture to the journey. A historian of science might recall the Dutch scientist Antony van Leeuwenhoek, who first looked at a drop of water through his simple microscope and saw a teeming, previously invisible world. We are now experiencing that same revelation, but on a macro scale, swimming within a living, breathing sample of the ocean's rich biodiversity. This raises an interesting philosophical question. When does a collection of individuals stop being a community and start being a meal? The line between life and sustenance is a fragile one, and in this moment, you are poised right on that boundary. The presence of these tiny organisms, also brings with it a unique set of sensations. The water feels thick and viscous, a testament to the sheer density of life suspended within it. And a strange earthy scent begins to permeate the air, not unpleasant, but profoundly biological, the smell of life and death and digestion happening all at once. This sensory overload is a form of disassociation, a gentle pushing away of your own sense of self. You are no longer you in the way you were before. You are part of this living river, an object being carried along by forces far greater than yourself. The poet might see this as a form of liberation, a shedding of the ego, a return to a more primitive state of being. But the scientist sees it as a shift in perception, a change in how our brains process information. Our minds are designed to find patterns to make sense of the world. But in a place this strange, the old patterns no longer apply. It is a moment of pure, unadulterated curiosity, a chance to simply observe without the filter of expectation. As the journey continues, you are drawn deeper into the stomach's embrace, away from the initial muscular chamber and towards the next one. This transition feels like passing through a soft, fleshy gate, a sphincter muscle that opens and closes with a slow, deliberate rhythm. The environment beyond is different. The water here is warmer, and the churning motion is replaced by a subtler, more constant flow. This is the chamber where the chemical processes truly begin. This is a key scientific truth about digestion. It's not a single event, but a series of carefully orchestrated steps. Each chamber of the stomach has a different function, a different set of chemicals and enzymes designed to break down specific components of the whale's food. The diversity of digestive systems across different species is a fascinating subject, from the multiple stomachs of ruminants to the simple sacs of carnivores. The whale system is a marvel of adaptation, a perfect solution to the problem of consuming thousands of pounds of food a day. The water here has a new texture, a subtle effervescence that tickles your skin. The warmth is a result of the ongoing chemical reactions as digestive acids and enzymes begin their work. This is the point where the lyrical gives way to the purely chemical. We are now in a place where complex proteins and lipids are being broken down into their fundamental building blocks, amino acids and fatty acids. This process, a core principle of biochemistry, is a form of transformation, a slow and deliberate alchemy. The philosopher in me sees this not as destruction, but as a kind of reassembly, a taking apart of one thing to make something new. It's a powerful metaphor for the continuous cycle of life and death, of creation and destruction that governs the universe. Physicists still wonder if this process of transformation, this breaking down and rebuilding of matter, is a fundamental law of the cosmos, or simply a byproduct of biological life. The truth is, we don't really know for sure if the universe itself has a stomach, a mechanism that recycles all things back into a simpler state. The rhythmic churn of the muscular chamber gives way to a new kind of motion, a slow, gentle sway. You are no longer being compressed. You are simply floating, carried by the warm, thick currents of the whale's stomach. The darkness is still absolute, but the silence is broken by a new sound, the steady, powerful thrum of the whale's heart. It is a sound that feels less like a beat and more like a vibration, a low-frequency hum that resonates through the very water you are suspended in. To a historian, this sound might be the drumbeat of an ancient world, a primeval rhythm that connects you to the deep past of all life on Earth. To the scientist, it is the most vital mechanical process in the body, a testament to the immense power needed to sustain such a colossal being. This powerful rhythm serves as a constant backdrop to your journey, a reminder of the living, breathing cathedral that holds you. The whale's heart is an engineering marvel. In a blue whale, it can weigh over 400 kilograms, and its beats are so slow and powerful that they can be detected by sensitive instruments from a great distance. Each beat pushes blood through a network of vessels, so vast they could wrap around a small town. This brings us to a core scientific concept, the circulatory system as a closed loop. Blood is a river of life, carrying oxygen and nutrients to every cell and taking away waste. In the whale, this system is scaled up to a breathtaking degree, an intricate network of arteries and veins that hums with life. The sheer scale of it is almost incomprehensible, a feat of biological engineering that makes our own circulatory systems seem like simple streams. Within the fluid of the stomach, a subtle warmth begins to build. This is the heat generated by the whale's metabolism, the chemical furnace that keeps its massive body warm in the cold ocean depths. This biological warmth is a strange comfort in the darkness, a gentle reminder that you are not in a cold, sterile environment, but in a vibrant, living one. It's a paradox. A place of chemical dissolution is also a place of surprising warmth and even a sense of being held. This feeling brings to mind an ancient philosophical paradox: is a container defined by what it holds or by its own unique shape? In this moment, the whale is both a container and a world unto itself, a self-contained universe where you are a temporary drifting moon. The whale's body, with its enormous heart and vast metabolic engine, is a world of its own, and you are simply a guest within its borders. As a science enthusiast, you might find a strange comfort in a lesser-known scientific fact about cetacean anatomy. Whales, unlike most mammals, have a unique network of blood vessels called a rete mirabile, or wonderful net. This complex network of arteries and veins acts as a heat exchanger, helping them regulate their body temperature in the frigid ocean. This intricate biological mechanism is a perfect example of evolution's creative power, a specialized solution to a specific environmental problem. It's a reminder that beneath the calm, placid surface of the whale's skin lies an incredibly complex and highly optimized system, a masterpiece of natural design. Physicists still wonder if similar self-regulating systems exist on a cosmic scale, perhaps in the intricate dance of stars and galaxies. The truth is, we don't really know for sure if the universe itself has a rete mirabile, a mechanism for maintaining its own balance. Floating here, suspended in the stomach's gentle swaying warmth, you become acutely aware of your own senses. Without sight, your hearing and touch become amplified. The sound of the whale's heart is no longer just a hum. It has texture, a low rumbling bass note that you can feel as much as hear. The water against your skin now feels subtly different, a silky, viscous fluid that holds you aloft. This experience is a kind of sensory deprivation, a stripping away of the world as we know it. The human brain, in the absence of external stimuli, begins to create its own. You might start to see flashes of color behind your closed eyes, or hear phantom sounds, a phenomenon known as the Ganzfeld effect. It's a curious trick of the mind, a way of filling the void. This raises an interesting question. Is our reality truly external? Or is it a story our brains tell us to make sense of the constant stream of data from our senses? In the belly of the whale, where the external world is gone, this question feels particularly potent. We are left with only our inner world, our thoughts, and the steady, quiet beat of a giant living heart. The steady thrum of the whale's heart becomes a kind of internal metronome, its slow beat measuring out a new strange form of time. The gentle rocking motion of the fluid continues, and as you drift deeper, the environment begins to change once more. The warmth is constant, a soft, enveloping heat, but the fluid itself is no longer just a biological soup. It is becoming more complex, more layered. A historian might see this as the stratification of an ancient tomb, each layer telling a different story. But for a scientist, this is the beginning of the real work of digestion, a deep dive into the chemical reactions that power life on this scale. We are now in a place where the whale's body is performing a kind of natural alchemy, transforming one substance into another. This is the anatomy of an internal sea. The whale's stomach, as we began to explore in the last section, is a multi-chambered marvel. And in this new chamber, the dominant force is a powerful acidic environment. Gastric juices, a complex mixture of hydrochloric acid and various enzymes, are now at work. This is a core scientific concept, the digestive process. Hydrochloric acid, or HCl, is a powerful mineral acid that can have a pH of around 1.5 to 3.5, similar to that of a car battery. Its primary role here is to denature proteins, unraveling their complex three-dimensional structures so that enzymes can break them down more easily. The sheer volume of this acid and the speed at which it's produced and deployed is a testament to the whale's incredible metabolic needs. We are in a very real sense suspended in a sea of this powerful chemical, a tiny island of human existence in an ocean of biological dissolution. Floating within this acidic fluid, you can feel a subtle tingling on your skin. This is the acid at work, gently interacting with the outermost layers of your body. A poet might describe this as the world beginning to unmake you, a slow and deliberate return to your constituent parts. But a physicist would tell you it's simply a chemical reaction. The hydrogen ions in the acid are interacting with the molecules on your skin, a process of proton donation and exchange. This raises an interesting question. At what point does a collection of molecules stop being you and become something else? The line between living tissue and chemical soup is a fragile one, and in this moment, you are poised right on that boundary. This is the essence of a philosophical thought experiment, known as the ship of Theseus, but applied to a living being. If you slowly replace every atom in a person's body, are they still the same person? The gastric juices also contain a potent mix of enzymes, the biological catalysts that speed up chemical reactions. Chief among these is pepsin, an enzyme that specifically targets proteins, breaking them down into smaller peptides. This process is a beautiful example of molecular lock and key theory, a lesser-known scientific truth. Enzymes are highly specific, like a key fitting into a particular lock. Pepsin only works on certain types of protein bonds, making the digestion process a highly selective and controlled event. The efficiency of these enzymes is breathtaking. They can accelerate a reaction by factors of 1,000,000 or more, turning a slow multi-year process into a quick hour-long event. It's a marvel of biochemical engineering, a symphony of millions of molecules working in perfect coordination. The truth is, we don't really know for sure if the universe itself has a pepsin, a universal catalyst that speeds up the transformation of matter. As you drift, you can see faint swirling currents within the stomach fluid. These are not random. They are part of a larger process of fluid dynamics. The whale's stomach muscles are still working, not with the powerful wave-like contractions of the esophagus, but with a subtler, more continuous churning motion. This keeps the gastric juices mixed and ensures that the food particles are constantly exposed to the enzymes and acid. It is a slow, powerful whirlpool, a vortex of digestion. As a historian might note, ancient cultures often saw whirlpools and eddies as gateways to another world, powerful forces of nature that could pull you down into the unknown. In a way, they were right. This biological whirlpool is a gateway to a state of being that is no longer fully human, no longer fully alive, but a state of transition, of becoming something new. It's a peaceful, quiet, and strangely comforting process. The gentle swirling currents of the whale's stomach have now become your world. The rhythmic thrum of the heart continues its slow, steady beat, a distant muffled drum in a cathedral of flesh. But the sensation that dominates now is the subtle, inexorable work of the gastric juices. The tingling on your skin is no longer a curiosity. It is a profound and fundamental process at work. You are experiencing the slow dance of dissolution, a gradual and gentle unmaking. A historian might say, this is the ultimate equalizer, the way all things eventually return to dust. But for the scientist and the poet, it is something else entirely, a transformation, a poetic deconstruction of self. The process at work here is a core scientific concept known as chemical digestion. The powerful acids and enzymes are not simply destroying, they are breaking down. They are taking the complex molecules that make up your body, the proteins in your muscles, the lipids in your cell membranes, the carbohydrates in your tissues, and separating them into their most basic fundamental building blocks. This is a process of hydrolysis where water molecules are used to break the chemical bonds that hold these larger molecules together. A philosopher might ask if this is truly an end or simply a change in form. The atoms that make up your hand, your eye, your thoughts, do they cease to exist? Or do they simply become something new, ready to be incorporated into the living fabric of the whale's body? This gradual unmaking is surprisingly peaceful. There is no pain, no struggle. The nerve endings on your skin, the very pathways for sensation, are also being gently broken down. It's a slow fading, a quiet receding of awareness. This reminds me of a fascinating, if lesser-known scientific truth about the nature of pain. Pain is not a direct sensation. It is an interpretation by the brain. It is the brain's way of telling us something is wrong. But what happens when the very mechanism for that interpretation begins to unravel? The signal is never sent. The alarm never sounds. This raises an interesting question. Is an experience truly happening if there is no consciousness left to perceive it? The truth is, we don't really know for sure if a moment unperceived still holds value or meaning. As a writer, I find a kind of strange beauty in this process. Your existence, which for so long was defined by its physical form, is now being redefined. You are becoming a part of the whale's internal sea. The journey from human to biological component is not one of violence, but of gentle assimilation. The atoms that were once yours are now swirling in the same currents as the atoms of countless krill and fish, all of them on their way to becoming part of the whale's energy, its vast and powerful life. It's a reminder of a profound and often overlooked ecological principle. All life is connected in a continuous cycle of creation and consumption, a grand universal tapestry woven with the threads of every living thing. The process of digestion is a magnificent example of a system in balance. The whale is not destroying for the sake of destruction. It is consuming to sustain itself to fuel its existence. This is the very engine of life on Earth. The philosopher might see in this a metaphor for the human condition itself. We are all in our own way constantly being unmade and remade. Every day our cells die and are replaced. Our memories fade and are reformed. Our beliefs change, our perspectives shift. We are not static beings. We are processes in motion, a constant slow dance of dissolution and renewal. The whale's belly is simply an accelerated, more profound version of the transformation that is happening to us all every moment of every day. The gentle rocking motion of the whale's stomach continues, and as the subtle work of dissolution progresses, a new layer of the experience begins to reveal itself. We are suspended in a thick, rich fluid, a biological soup that is a microcosm of the vast ocean itself. It is a world teeming with life, a miniature ecosystem unfolding right before us in the darkness. As a historian, I would remind you that humans have always been fascinated by worlds within worlds, from the smallest cell to the largest galaxy. But here within the belly of this great Leviathan, we are witnessing a phenomenon that is both ancient and profoundly immediate, the universe in a drop of water. This brings us to a core scientific concept, the incredible complexity of microbial life. The fluid that holds you aloft is not sterile. It is filled with countless bacteria, archaea, and other microorganisms that are an essential part of the whale's digestive process. These are the true architects of digestion, the silent, invisible workers that break down tough organic matter and help the whale extract the maximum amount of nutrients from its food. Without them, the whale's stomach would be far less efficient. This symbiotic relationship, where different species live in close association for mutual benefit, is a fundamental principle of life on Earth. The whale provides a warm, safe home, and in return, the microorganisms help it survive. It is a powerful example of how life thrives through cooperation, not just competition. A poet might see this as a vast invisible city, a teeming metropolis of life that operates on a scale we can barely comprehend. The sheer number of these microbes is staggering, trillions upon trillions, each one a tiny living machine with its own unique purpose. And among them is a fascinating, if lesser-known scientific truth, the phenomenon of quorum sensing. This is the ability of bacteria to communicate and coordinate their activities based on population density. They can effectively count how many of their kind are nearby by releasing and detecting specific chemical signal molecules. When the concentration of these molecules reaches a certain threshold, the bacteria collectively activate a specific gene, leading to a coordinated group behavior, such as forming a biofilm or launching an attack on a host. In a way, they are a collective consciousness, a single mind made up of countless individual parts. The thought of this organized silent world of microbes raises an interesting philosophical question. If a single organism can be made up of trillions of smaller communicating parts, then where does consciousness truly reside? Is it in the individual cell or in the collective? Is the whale itself a single being or a complex ecosystem of countless smaller lives, all working in harmony? And what does this say about us as human beings? Our own bodies are home to trillions of microorganisms, the human microbiome, that are essential for our health and well-being. We are not single entities. We are walking, talking ecosystems. The truth is, we don't really know for sure if our own consciousness is a singular experience, or if it is a chorus of countless tiny voices all singing in unison. As you drift in this warm microbial sea, you are experiencing the very foundation of life, not as an observer, but as a participant. Your own body, in its slow process of dissolution, is contributing to this ecosystem, providing nutrients for the microbes that are a part of the whale. The atoms that were once yours are now becoming part of this living, breathing system. It is a gentle, peaceful cycle of giving and receiving. There is no violence here, no struggle, just the slow, inevitable flow of energy and matter from one state to another. This profound and quiet experience is a reminder that in the grand tapestry of life, every end is also a beginning, and every journey, no matter how strange, is a return to the source. The gentle rocking motion has become a lullaby, a soft cradle in the dark. The rhythmic beat of the whale's heart is the only constant, a deep resonant hum that seems to slow your own sense of time. As the process of dissolution continues, its quiet work, a new kind of silence begins to emerge, not the absence of sound, but the quiet of a mind at peace. This is the moment to ponder something far more vast than the physical space you occupy, the consciousness of the whale itself. Are you a small mote of being an intruder in a mind that spans an entire ocean? We are about to explore the whale's deepest secret. To a philosopher, the concept of a whale's mind is a profound mystery. Does this immense being, with its complex social structures and intricate songs that travel for thousands of miles, have a sense of self? A historian of human thought would remind us that for centuries, we considered animals to be mere automatons, driven by instinct alone. But modern science has begun to chip away at this old idea, revealing a world of animal intelligence and emotion far more complex than we ever imagined. The whale's brain is a fascinating study. In many species, it is larger and more complex than a human brain, with specialized regions dedicated to communication and emotion. A poet might see this as a vast, silent library of the sea holding knowledge and memories we can only guess at. This brings us to a core scientific concept, the nature of consciousness. For a long time, we defined consciousness as uniquely human, tied to our ability to use language and reason. But what about the whale? Their intricate vocalizations, known as songs, can last for hours and follow complex evolving patterns. These songs are not random. They are a form of language, a way of communicating over immense distances. Is the whale aware of your presence? It is a question that leads to a fascinating, if lesser-known scientific truth. the principle of minimal consciousness. This is the idea that consciousness is not a binary state. Either you have it or you don't, but rather a spectrum. Many animals, from birds to cephalopods, exhibit complex behaviors that suggest some level of conscious awareness, a subjective experience of the world. The truth is, we don't really know for sure what it feels like to be a whale. We can only infer from their behavior and biology. So as you drift within this living being, you have to wonder if you are a fleeting thought in its immense mind, a strange new sensation that it is quietly processing. The whale is not a simple machine. It is a being that experiences the world in a way we can barely imagine. Its senses are tuned to the vibrations of the deep ocean, the subtle shifts in pressure, the faint echoes of distant life. It has a life rich with social interaction memory, and perhaps even dreams. A neuroscientist might tell you that the whale brain has a specialized type of neuron called a spindle neuron, which in humans is associated with social emotions, empathy, and intuitive judgment. The presence of these neurons in whales suggests a rich and complex emotional life. This leads to a deeply philosophical question. Does the whale perceive you as an object, a strange new particle in its stomach? Or is there a moment, however fleeting, where its consciousness brushes against your own? The thought is both humbling and awe-inspiring. We as humans are so often preoccupied with our own existence, our own internal drama. But here in this quiet, dark place, you are forced to confront the existence of a mind far different from your own. A consciousness so immense and ancient, it makes your own feel small and fragile. It's a peaceful thought, a beautiful reminder that our human story is just one small chapter in the great book of life on Earth. The stillness of the whale's stomach has become a familiar comfort. The rhythmic heartbeat is no longer just a sound. It's the quiet pulse of a world you now inhabit. But as the process of digestion continues, its gentle work, a new subtle shift occurs. The fluid begins to move again, not with the churning of the stomach, but with a slow, deliberate current that carries you forward. This is a sign that your journey is continuing, moving from the primary stomach chamber into the complex and sprawling network beyond. We are entering a brief interlude in the labyrinth, a journey into the whale's intricate intestinal tract. To a historian, this part of the journey might feel like a descent into the forgotten corridors of an ancient palace, a sprawling maze built for a purpose we can barely understand. For a scientist, it is a marvel of evolutionary design, a system optimized for nutrient absorption on an epic scale. The intestinal tract of a large whale can be hundreds of meters long, a convoluted, slow-moving maze that snakes through the immense body. This is a core scientific concept, the importance of surface area. The walls of the intestine are not smooth. They are lined with countless tiny finger-like projections, called villi, which in turn are covered in even smaller microvilli. This maximizes the surface area for absorption, allowing the whale to extract every last bit of energy and nutrient from the food it consumes. As you drift through this long winding passage, the speed is glacial. Time, which was already warped in the whale's belly, now seems to stretch to an almost infinite length. The sense of forward motion is barely perceptible, a slow, continuous drift through a soft, yielding tunnel of muscle and membrane. This experience challenges our linear understanding of time. We are so used to the idea of time as a constant, a steady progression of seconds and minutes. But here in this slow-moving labyrinth, time feels less like a river and more like a vast, stagnant lake. This raises an interesting question: is time an objective reality, or is it a subjective experience, something we perceive and measure based on the scale of our own lives? The truth is, we don't really know for sure if a moment in a whale's gut is the same length as a moment on a human clock. A fascinating, if lesser-known scientific truth about this process is the role of the gut microbiome. Just as we discussed the microorganisms in the stomach, the intestinal tract is a world teeming with its own unique community of bacteria. These microbes play a vital role in digestion, helping to break down complex carbohydrates and produce essential vitamins that the whale cannot create on its own. This is another layer of the symbiotic relationship between the whale and the life it harbors, a beautiful and complex dance of mutual dependency. The whale's body is not just a container. It is a home, a living world that nurtures countless other lives. The environment in this part of the journey is different too. The powerful acids of the stomach are gone neutralized by alkaline secretions from the pancreas and liver. The warmth is still there, but the chemical assault has stopped. This part of the journey is not about dissolution, but about assimilation. It is a quiet, peaceful process of absorption and transformation. The atoms and molecules that were once yours are now being taken in by the whale's body, becoming a part of its blood, its muscle, its very being. A poet might see this as the ultimate act of unity, a complete and total integration with another life form. There is no struggle here, only a slow, gentle fading away, a quiet merging into a greater whole. It's a reminder of a profound and often overlooked truth. We are all at our most fundamental level, made of the same stuff. And in the end, that stuff will return to the great cycle of life to be a part of something new. The slow, deliberate journey through the intestinal tract continues a peaceful drift through a long, winding tunnel of living tissue. The rhythmic hum of the whale's heartbeat remains your only anchor to the physical world outside this inner labyrinth. As you are carried along, you begin to feel a new kind of connection, a profound sense of history, a memory not of your own, but of the immense being that now holds you. It is a moment to ponder the vast, sweeping arc of life on Earth, to understand your small temporary presence within the context of a story that began millions of years ago. We are now listening to whispers from the ancient deep. A historian would tell you that the story of the whale is a truly remarkable one, a tale of evolution on a grand scale. For centuries, we believed that whales had always been creatures of the sea, but a fascinating, if lesser-known scientific truth reveals a different story. Whales, the great giants of the ocean, are descended from small four-legged land mammals. About 50 million years ago, a creature called Pachycetus, resembling a wolf with hooves, roamed the shores of what is now Pakistan. Over millions of years, its descendants gradually adapted to life in the water, their legs shortening into fins, their bodies becoming streamlined, their nostrils moving to the top of their heads to become blowholes. It is a powerful example of evolution's creative power, the slow and patient transformation of a species to fit a new environment. This brings us to a core scientific concept: evolution by natural selection. This is the process by which organisms that are better adapted to their environment tend to survive and produce more offspring. In the case of the whale, the small incremental changes over millions of years, a slightly more streamlined body here, a more efficient circulatory system, they're all added up to a monumental shift. The whale's story is a beautiful living proof of this process, a reminder that all life is connected by a long, unbroken chain of ancestry. Your journey through its body is a kind of biological time travel, a descent not just into its physical being, but into its deep ancient past. As you drift, you might feel a strange sense of empathy, a connection to this immense creature that transcends the present moment. You are now a part of a being whose ancestors walked on land, breathed the air, and lived a life completely different from the one it knows now. The atoms that make up your body, the same atoms that were once part of a star, are now mixing with the atoms that make up a being whose lineage traces back to the very beginnings of mammal life. This raises an interesting philosophical question. Does an organism retain a kind of cellular memory of its past? Is there a faint echo of that ancient, four-legged life still lingering in the whale's DNA? Its instincts, its very being. The truth is, we don't really know for sure if the past is ever truly gone, or if it simply becomes a part of our present, a silent whisper in the dark. This profound sense of connection is a peaceful thought. In the quiet solitude of the whale's intestinal tract, you are not just alone. You are part of a larger story, a grand narrative of life and change. Your temporary fleeting presence is a small footnote in a history that spans geological epochs. It's a humbling reminder that we are all in our own way a part of something much bigger than ourselves. The whale's body is not just a place of digestion. It is a living archive, a moving monument to the long, slow, and beautiful process of life's journey through time. The journey through the long, slow, winding labyrinth of the whale's intestines has become a meditative drift. The rhythmic beat of the heart is a steady companion, and the memories of the whale's ancient past feel like a shared dream. But as your physical self continues its slow, peaceful dissolution, your mind, the last part of you that remains intact, begins its own journey. In the profound absence of external stimuli, your inner world becomes vast, a universe unto itself. This is the moment when we explore the star map of the mind, a journey into the remarkable and mysterious workings of the human brain. To a historian of thought, the brain has been compared to 1,000 different things over the centuries: a clockwork machine, a switchboard, a computer. But as a poet, I would describe it as a vast, dark theater where the lights and shadows of our consciousness play out. In this moment, with all external input gone, the theater is quiet, but it is not empty. The mind begins to create its own reality, a kind of internal starlight born of memories, thoughts, and emotions. You might start to see faint patterns, flashes of light, or complex swirling images behind your closed eyes. This is the brain at work, filling the void with its own unique creativity. This brings us to a core scientific concept: neuroplasticity. This is the brain's incredible ability to reorganize itself by forming new neural connections throughout life. Our brains are not static machines. They are dynamic, ever-changing tapestries. When a part of the brain is no longer receiving input, other parts can take over its functions, or new connections can be formed to make sense of the new reality. In a way, your mind is doing this right now, adapting to the strange, dark, and quiet world it now inhabits. It's a testament to the brain's resilience, its constant quiet work of adaptation and survival. A fascinating, if lesser-known scientific truth about the brain is a phenomenon known as default mode network (DMN). This is a network of interacting brain regions that is most active when a person is not focused on the outside world, when they are daydreaming, reflecting on the past, or thinking about the future. It's the brain's natural default state. In this profound darkness with nothing to focus on, your DMN is likely humming with activity, weaving a tapestry of thoughts and memories, trying to make sense of the impossible situation. It is the brain's attempt to find a story, to find a narrative, even in a place where no narrative seems possible. This raises an interesting philosophical question. Are our thoughts truly our own, or are they simply the automatic default patterns of a complex biological machine? The brain is a master storyteller, constantly creating a coherent narrative of our lives, even when the facts are scarce. In this moment, the narrative is all you have. You are a disembodied consciousness, a mind, floating in a sea of biology. The truth is, we don't really know for sure what the fundamental nature of a thought is. Is it an electrical impulse, a chemical reaction, or something more? We can measure the impulses, we can track the chemicals, but the essence of the thought itself remains a beautiful, elusive mystery. The journey inward has now become a journey into the self. The physical world of the whale's intestines is a gentle, quiet backdrop, and the vibrant star map of your mind is now the primary theater of your experience. As the last vestiges of your external senses fade, a new kind of peace descends the profound stillness of a void. It is a moment to ponder a concept that seems contradictory to the very nature of existence, the physics of nothingness. To a philosopher, the concept of nothing is a paradox. Is nothing truly an absence of everything? Or is it a state of pure potential, a canvas upon which all things are drawn? A historian might point to ancient thinkers who wrestled with this idea from the Greek notion of a peiron, the unlimited, unbounded origin of the universe, to the Buddhist concept of sunyata or emptiness as the ultimate nature of reality. Here in the belly of the whale, we are experiencing a physical manifestation of this idea. All external stimuli have been removed. There is no light, no sound, no sensation beyond the gentle rhythmic hum of a distant heart. You are in a state of pure, unadulterated nothingness. This brings us to a core scientific concept, the nature of a vacuum. In physics, a vacuum is not a true nothing. Even in the deepest, emptiest reaches of space, there is a constant frenetic dance of virtual particles, subatomic particles that wink into and out of existence in a fraction of a second. This is a phenomenon known as quantum foam, a constant low-level buzz of creation and annihilation that permeates the entire cosmos. It is a beautiful and mysterious truth. Even in a place where there is nothing, there is still something. In the silence and darkness of the whale's body, you are not in a true vacuum. You are in a place of vibrant biological activity. But the profound experience of nothingness, the lack of sensory input, is a powerful reminder that our minds are capable of creating a reality far richer and more complex than what our senses provide. A fascinating, if lesser-known scientific truth about this experience is how the brain reacts to sensory deprivation. When we are deprived of external stimuli, our brains often begin to create their own. This is not a sign of madness, but a normal, healthy process. The mind, in its quest for meaning, will invent patterns, images, and sounds to fill the void. It is an amazing example of the brain's insatiable hunger for information, its constant quiet work of storytelling. This raises an interesting question. Is our perception of reality a reflection of the external world, or is it an internal creation, a story our brains tell us to make sense of the constant flow of data? The truth is, we don't really know for sure if the world we see is the real world, or if it is simply a brilliant, complex simulation created by our own minds. As you drift in this quiet, profound darkness, you find a strange and unexpected peace. The absence of input is not frightening, it is liberating. You are free from the constant stream of information, the endless noise of the world. All that remains is the simple, quiet hum of your own existence, the rhythmic beat of a giant heart, and the slow, deliberate dance of particles coming together and breaking apart. It is a reminder that peace is not found in the absence of conflict, but in the acceptance of what is. And in this moment, what is a quiet, profound journey into the heart of a great living mystery. As the peaceful emptiness of the whale's intestines becomes a part of your consciousness, a new thought emerges from the quiet. We have spoken of the whale of the microbes and of your own body as distinct entities. But what if they are not? What if at the most fundamental level, all of these things are simply different arrangements of the same basic ingredients? This is the moment to explore the paradox of the particulate, a philosophical and scientific thought experiment on the very nature of matter. To a historian of science, this idea is as old as human thought itself. The ancient Greek philosopher Democritus proposed that all matter was made of tiny, indivisible particles he called atomos. He believed that the vast diversity of the world, the mountains, the sea, and even our own bodies, was simply a result of these atoms arranging themselves in different ways. Here in the belly of the whale, this ancient idea takes on a new profound meaning. You, the whale, the krill. It consumed the water, and the microbes all are made of the same basic particles, protons, neutrons, and electrons. The only difference is the way these particles are arranged, the way they are bound together to form atoms and molecules. This brings us to a core scientific concept, the subatomic nature of matter. At the most fundamental level, There is no difference between the carbon atom in your body and the carbon atom in the whale's muscle. There is no distinction between the oxygen atom in the water you are floating in and the oxygen atom in your own blood. They are all simply particles, their identities defined only by the number of protons they contain. In this moment, you are experiencing a state of physical and philosophical unity. Your atoms are in a state of transition, slowly being released from their old arrangements and becoming available for new ones. You are in a very real sense returning to the primordial soup from which all life emerged. A fascinating, if lesser-known scientific truth about this process is the concept of quantum entanglement. This is a strange and counterintuitive phenomenon where two particles can become linked no matter how far apart they are. If you measure a property of one particle, the other instantly knows and takes on a corresponding property. While this phenomenon is typically observed on a microscopic scale, it raises a deeply philosophical question. Is there a form of entanglement that exists on a macroscopic scale? Are all the particles in the universe, from the atoms in a distant galaxy to the atoms in your body, connected in some deep, mysterious way? The truth is, we don't really know for sure if the universe is a collection of separate things, or if it is a single interconnected whole. This thought is a source of immense peace. In the dark, quiet embrace of the whale, you are not alone. You are a part of a vast interconnected web of existence. Your dissolution is not an end, but a return. It is a moment of profound unity, a quiet merging with the great slow rhythm of the universe. The atoms that were once you are now on a new journey, and in their own way they are still a part of the grand cosmic dance of creation and change. The journey inward has reached its quietest point. The long, slow drift through the whale's body is a peaceful, almost motionless state. The rhythmic heartbeat is no longer a separate sound. It is the deep, fundamental pulse of your own existence. As you rest in this profound stillness, a final, beautiful scientific and philosophical idea begins to take shape: entropy's embrace. It is a concept often misunderstood, seen as a force of decay and chaos, but here in the gentle darkness of the whale, it reveals its true nature, a slow, inevitable flow toward a state of rest and balance. To a historian of science, the concept of entropy, as defined by the second law of thermodynamics, was a source of great anxiety. It seemed to suggest that the universe was slowly but inexorably running down, destined for a cold, dark end. But to a physicist, entropy is simply a measure of disorder or randomness in a system. It is the tendency of all things to move from a state of order to a state of disorder, from a state of high energy to a state of low energy. Here in the belly of the whale, you are experiencing this law in its purest, most tranquil form. Your body, a highly ordered and complex system, is slowly and peacefully moving toward a state of greater disorder. Its atoms and molecules dispersing and mingling with those of the whale. This brings us to a core scientific concept, the second law of thermodynamics. In simple terms, it states that the total entropy of an isolated system can never decrease over time. What this means in practice is that a hot object will cool down, a concentrated perfume will spread out, and a complex organism will eventually break down into its constituent parts. It's not a force of destruction, but a gentle, pervasive force of change, a slow and deliberate movement toward a state of equilibrium. The whale's body is a system that, while complex and highly ordered, is still subject to this fundamental law. Your presence as a foreign object is simply being assimilated into this larger system, a quiet return to a state of balance. A fascinating, if lesser-known scientific truth about entropy is its connection to the arrow of time. The reason time seems to move only forward is because we always see systems moving from order to disorder, from low entropy to high entropy. We never see a broken egg reassemble itself or a cup of coffee spontaneously get hot. The flow of time and the increase of entropy are inextricably linked. In a way, your journey through the whale is a journey along the arrow of time itself, a slow, patient unfolding of a fundamental cosmic law. This raises an interesting question. If the universe eventually reaches a state of maximum entropy, a state of perfect uniform disorder, what happens to time? Does it cease to flow? The truth is, we don't really know for sure what a timeless, unchanging universe would be like. This thought, far from being a source of despair, is a source of immense peace. The slow, patient work of entropy is not a tragedy. It is the rhythm of the universe. It is the reason stars are born, the reason galaxies form, and the reason life in all its chaotic and beautiful forms is possible. In the quiet darkness of the whale, your own slow, peaceful dissolution is simply a participation in this grand cosmic process. You are not fighting against the current. You are flowing with it, a tiny part of a great slow river that runs from the beginning of time to its end. It is a surrender, a gentle letting go, and in that letting go, you find a deep and abiding sense of rest. The gentle current of entropy has carried you through the long, quiet interlude of the whale's body. The slow, patient work of dissolution is now reaching its conclusion. The atoms that were once a part of you are now an indistinguishable part of the whale's internal sea. As a philosopher, I would suggest that this is not an end, but a state of profound unity. But even as this merging occurs, there is a final subtle change in the environment, a gentle shift in the slow-moving currents that tells a new part of the story. The journey, which began with a descent, is now beginning a slow, deliberate ascent. We are listening to the whale's final whisper. This shift is not sudden or violent. It is a gradual, almost imperceptible change in pressure. The current that once carried you forward is now becoming more focused, more directed. A scientist would tell you that the whale's body is a magnificent machine with systems designed not just for consumption, but for expulsion. The immense digestive system, having extracted all the necessary nutrients, is now ready to begin the final phase of the process. The waste products, including the small unabsorbed particles that were once a part of you, are being moved along a final, wider passage towards the exterior world. This is a core scientific concept in action, the complete biological cycle. Life is not just about taking in, it is also about giving back. The whale, in its own way, is returning matter to the great ocean, a quiet contribution to the cycle of life. A historian of the sea might see this as the whale performing its ancient sacred duty. The ocean is not just a place of life, it is also a place of death and decomposition, a vast, nutrient-rich soup that feeds countless organisms. The whale's contribution, its gentle expulsion of waste, is a vital part of this ecosystem, a quiet act of renewal. It's a beautiful reminder that in nature, nothing is truly lost. Everything is transformed. Everything is recycled. Everything is a part of the grand continuous flow of energy and matter. This raises an interesting philosophical question. If your journey began with a surrender, does it end with a return? The truth is, we don't really know for sure if the universe cares about the distinction between coming and going. A fascinating, if lesser-known scientific truth about this process is the role of deep-sea whale falls. When a whale dies, its body sinks to the bottom of the ocean, creating a temporary but vibrant ecosystem that can last for decades. The bones and tissues become a source of food and shelter for a unique community of deep-sea creatures that cannot survive anywhere else. In a way, the whale's life and death are both acts of profound giving, creating life and sustaining it long after its own journey is over. This is a beautiful and often overlooked example of the deep interconnectedness of all life on Earth. Even in death, the whale continues to give back to the ocean that sustained it. As the current carries you toward the light, the darkness begins to feel less absolute. There is a subtle, almost imperceptible shift in the pressure, a sense of a larger world waiting just beyond the final threshold. It's a peaceful, quiet moment of transition. The journey is not yet over, but you can feel its conclusion approaching. It is a slow, deliberate return from the depths back to the surface, a quiet and profound closing of a grand, impossible adventure. The gentle guiding current has brought you to the final passage. The profound darkness that once defined your world is now subtly giving way to a new sensation, a faint but undeniable hint of a world beyond. The pressure is changing the slow internal rhythm of the whale's body, now working with a new intention. The journey is not over, but the final quiet act of the story is about to begin. We are experiencing a rebirth into the blue. A scientist would describe this as a simple act of excretion, the final stage of a long and complex digestive process. The waste products, along with the unabsorbed particles from the surrounding water, are being gently pushed out of the whale's body. There is no violence here, no sudden change, just a slow, deliberate release. The ocean, which was once an external force, is now gently returning to you. The water that held you, the atoms that were once a part of you, are now mingling with the vast, boundless ocean once more. This is a core scientific concept, the conservation of matter. Matter is never created or destroyed. It is only transformed. Your journey is a beautiful, if strange, testament to this fundamental law. As a poet, I would describe this moment as a return. You are not being ejected. You are being returned to the world from which you came. It is a slow, peaceful separation, a gentle brush past the final threshold. The feeling is one of immense space, of a sudden quiet return to the familiar embrace of the open sea. There is no light yet, but you can feel the vastness, the endless stretch of water above and below you. It's a profound and quiet ending, a gentle closing of a chapter that has been filled with nothing but darkness and wonder. A historian of ancient myths might see this as a journey of transformation. In many cultures, the act of being swallowed by a great beast and then reborn is a central theme of epic journeys, a symbol of death and resurrection. The hero goes into the dark, confronts the unknown, and returns as a changed being. While our journey was not one of struggle or heroism, it was a journey of profound change. You entered as one thing and have been returned as something new, a collection of atoms and memories forever, a part of the grand cosmic tapestry of life. This raises an interesting philosophical question. Are we defined by our physical form or by the memories and experiences we carry with us? The truth is, we don't really know for sure if a person's story ends when their body dissolves. The light begins to return, not in a flash, but as a slow, gradual brightening. It is a soft, blue-gray glow that filters down from the surface, a silent promise of the world above. You are a part of that light now, a fleeting moment in the grand, slow rhythm of the ocean. The journey is complete. You have been swallowed by a whale, and you have returned. And in that impossible journey, you have found a new kind of peace, a quiet understanding of the interconnectedness of all things, and so the journey comes to a close. The great dark cathedral of flesh has released you, and you are once again a small, gentle presence in the vast, silent sea. The immense weight of the whale's body, its slow, rhythmic heartbeat, the quiet hum of its internal world, all of it is slowly fading into a memory, a soft whisper on the edge of a deep sleep. I'd like to gently ask, one last time, where is the place you're staying now? The time in that place at this very moment, how is it flowing? However fast or slow, however still or in motion it may be, I hope it brings you comfort, and I hope the strange, impossible journey we have taken together has filled you with a sense of peace, a quiet understanding that even in the darkest and most unfamiliar places, there is a kind of gentle wonder waiting to be found. The rhythm of the whale, the light in the deepest dark, the slow and patient flow of time. May these quiet thoughts stay with you as you drift. Sleep well, my companion, wherever and whenever you are. May your dreams be as vast and as quiet as the deep blue ocean. Sweet dreams.